why regular Kegels suck, why Kegels do not work, and how do we really get to the pelvic floor in a way that's really gonna provide that connection, that strength, and that healing. Let's talk about it. Okay, so before we can really get into Kegels and why they don't work for so many of us, we have to understand what area of the body we're even talking about. What is it that we're asking to work for us, right? So that's going to require just a little bit of anatomy. We're going to keep it basic, a simple overview. But if you're going to understand, mama, the best way to address your core and pelvic floor, and if you're going to understand why Kegels haven't been working for you, or why there's so much more you can do for the pelvic floor than just Kegels, you gotta have a basic understanding of the area of the body we're even talking about. So I'll be back in 1 second. Let me grab my pelvis. Okay, so here you will see a model pelvis, okay? And I'm holding it upright as if you were sitting straight up or standing up. And I want you to go ahead with me right now while you watch this video. Put your hands on your hips. You see these little bones sticking out right here? Those are your hip bones. We call them our hip bones. So if you were to put your hands right on your hips and feel around these bones right here, that's what you're feeling, okay? Now at the front of our pelvis is our pubic bone, okay? Right down here, that's at the front. So if you were to take your hand and just slide straight down the front of your abdomen until you come to a hard bone that's like right above or right near your pubic area, that is the pubic bone. That's the front of the pelvis. All right, so we have the hip bones on the side, pubic bone at the front. Let's turn it around to the back. Now my back is to you, okay? This is actually the lower part of the spine. This is the sacrum. And at the very end of that is your tailbone, okay? So we've got the front of our pelvis, the sides, we've got the back, right? Basic stuff, no need to get scared. Now I'm gonna show you what it looks like underneath, meaning from up under, where the pelvic floor lives, because that's what we have to understand. So I'm just gonna turn it, bam. This is as if you're lying straight back, legs open, you know, when you're on the table, like getting an exam or checkup or having a baby, that's this view, pelvic floor. These two bones poking down here are your sit bones. So right now, take your hands, put them right up under your bottom, if you can, if you're like in a space where you can do that, and just rock side to side and front and back and just feel those hard, knobby things sticking down. Okay. Those are your sit bones. And no, I'm not using anatomically correct terms. Anybody got time for that? Okay, sit bones. That's what these guys are, okay? So if you see, okay, here, front, pubic bone, back, tailbone, side to side are sitting bones, okay? The pelvic floor lives, exists in this entire space. Do you see that? So now I want you to think about how you're traditionally taught or given a paper on doing Kegels. Matter of fact, if you look up the proper way to do a Kegel right now on Google, we're still being taught this ineffective and outdated strategy. But can you see, just from that little bit of anatomy of your pelvis and where your pelvic floor lives, how doing Kegels, how you've been taught traditional Kegels, would never address the depth of the issues and the problems and the dysfunction that so many of us have. Because I'm willing to bet you, like me, were told to squeeze and release like you're trying to stop the flow of pee. Matter of fact, they even tell us to practice on the toilet. Stop your urine while you're on the toilet. Those are the muscles you're targeting when you're doing your Kegels or Kegels, however you want to say it. Stop practicing on the toilet, mamas, okay? Just aside, don't do that. That is bad news. Anyway, so basically, that's just the area in and around where you pee, right? Your urethra. How in the world, if we're focusing on just that little tiny area, squeezing and releasing like we're stopping the flow of urine, how then, mama, can our entire pelvic floor, which is very massive and layered and dynamic, how can a traditional Kegel even begin to scratch the surface of all of this? Because your pelvic floor connects here, 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 and here. And the muscles are layered and deep, and they hold you under like a sling. Are you starting to see now how traditional Kegels, for lots of women, not all women, but for me, and I'm betting for you, will never be good enough? Ever. They can't address the full scope of what we've been through and what we're going through. Okay? So now that we've gotten the bony anatomy out of the way, what I want you to do is take this knowledge, take this information, any aha moments, and I want you to respond below and just tell me, does it make sense to you now why the Kegels are not working? Are you getting a better understanding of your body and your pelvic floor and why Kegels just aren't enough for so many of us? And the next thing I want you to do, if you're liking this and finding this valuable information for you, go ahead and download the free guide and mini training that I created just for you. It's in the description below this video. The 7 mistakes keeping your core and pelvic floor from healing and what you must do instead. I created this mini training just for you mamas. If you're suffering with leaking or your symptoms of prolapse, or you're trying to strengthen your core, this guide was created so that you can get started on the best path. So go ahead and download that now. It's absolutely free for you. All right. So now we're understanding, right? We're seeing Kegels cannot cut it. They're not enough. But that's just the bony part. If you're finding this information valuable, go ahead and watch this video where we're going to break down the muscular part, right? Because our pelvic floor is a group and layers of muscles. So now that we got a little bit more understanding about the bony structure and where the pelvic floor lives, watch this video so we can dive deeper and you can really start to see why Kegels will never be enough for you.